Today is Groundhog Day, also known as Candlemas, or at least in the old calendar. Now, Groundhog Day is what people think of as an American tradition, where a groundhog, which is a large ground squirrel, but in other words a kind of marmot, comes out of its burrow, looks at the ground, and if it sees its shadow, it will go back into its burrow and stay there for the next 6 weeks, because there will be another 6 weeks of winter. And the tradition is that in Pennsylvania and some other places, they hold up a groundhog. Punxsatawney Phil, I think, was one of the names that they used, and see if it can see its shadow. And there are other traditions that are quite interesting, like, for example, you're not allowed to speak English, and there's a fine for speaking English. You have to speak Pennsylvania Dutch, which is in fact a dialect of German, during the ceremony, and there's various other things going on. Anyway, now, this is one of the interesting things which appears to be an American tradition, but is in fact a European tradition, like trick-or-treating, which is Scottish. It actually originates from Roman times, when people used to hold up a hedgehog, or rather they used to imagine that if a hedgehog could see its shadow, it would go away. Now, the interesting thing about hedgehogs, of course, is that they became extinct in the American continents in the Pliocene epoch. So over there they're seen as exotic animals, which strikes me as really quite strange. Now, there are also various other things, like, for example, there was the idea that it was a badger that you should hold up, and I can't imagine actually wanting to get anywhere near a badger, let alone holding it up and expecting to see its shadow. There's another one which is marmot, I think, and various other animals that you hold up in order to see that, or that they see their shadows. And it's also like St. Swithin's Day, of course, a saint's day in England, where if the weather is like that, then it will be like that on the next 40 days as well. The other thing about Groundhog Day is that it is a cross-quarter day. Or it was a cross-quarter day in the Julian calendar, but now we're 11 days later, so it no longer shows up as a cross-quarter day, which are the days that are halfway between the solstices and the equinoxes. It's no longer a quarter day because after the calendar drifted out of kilter with the real orbit of the Earth, it had to be corrected, and now it's moving forwards 11 days, so it's now at a different time. Now, what I'm planning to do today is to go out and see if I can see my shadow. So I am your honorary groundhog for the day. Now, when I do that, unfortunately, what's going to happen is probably we're going to be totally buffeted by the wind and everything, and it's going to become impossible for you to hear anything I say. So previous attempts I've made at doing that have been a bit of a mess. So I will say now, see you tomorrow, and then I will go out and attempt to observe my own shadow. So see you tomorrow.